Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back, and this is our first official podcast on the road.
On the road, indeed. And where are we right now? Let's see. We just drove through Childress, Texas, which is near the Texas-Oklahoma border in the northern end. And then Memphis. I know you think that's in Tennessee, but it's also in Texas. And we are on our way to Amarillo as our next major city.
And we have a big announcement. We have decided. Yeah, we're going to do it. So we have decided that we're going to, we were just going to basically maybe stay the night in Amarillo, but now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Area 51.
That's right, Roswell, New Mexico. Especially for our Sunday listeners of previous shows, it's for you guys.
We have to go. I mean, it's like 3.5 hours.
I don't know what we'll see or how much we'll see, but we'll check it out.
It's 3.5 hours out of the way. How can you not go see Area 51?
When else are you going to be that close,
right? I mean, and to your point, it's just going to be a big tchotchke shop selling a bunch of alien
But
jerky.
it will be hilarious.
Right.
Yeah. And besides, Zoe needs to put that on her stickers on her suitcase that she's been to Roswell, New Mexico. Because how cool is that to talk about when you go back to school and you have show and tell about what you did over the summer?
That's right. So we are actually podcasting live from a truck stop in what town, Julie?
Just outside of Memphis, Texas. And this is interesting. I think, I'm not sure this is one of them, but it looks like it. If you recall, when you're out here in the plains, oftentimes these sort of fancy truck stops, rest stops that are made out of metal and they're kind of fancy, those are also tornado shelters.
Yep.
Oftentimes. A lot of people don't know that. So we just looked up what's the difference between a cyclone and a tornado. A cyclone has more to do with a low pressure system. It's more of a barometric thing. And a tornado just arises from a violent storm. Those of our Midwestern friends probably are familiar with that. So just a little bit of road trivia for you.
And what sparked that conversation is we drove past the high school, and the football team is called the Memphis Cyclones. That's right. So that's what got us thinking about that.
And parked in, let's see where we are right now. We pulled over because the road was a little noisy and we wanted to have a little better quality for you guys. But right in front of the car is a big sign that says, "Watch for rattlesnakes."
And
that's
Julie,
different.
I don't know if you noticed, but you see that sign right there, that fence right in front of us?
Yep.
What do you see on the tip of that, on the post?
Oh, it looks like
it's a red hawk.
A red hawk, probably out looking for rattlesnakes.
That's right, looking for his late
Smart
lunch.
little guy.
Yeah, I know. Well, so it's so nice to be back in Texas. As some of you guys will know, Julie and I lived in Texas for 7 or 8 years, something like that. Yeah, and damn, we miss Texas. I'll have to say, I had forgotten how. Well, first of all, when you get outside of really Austin
and Dallas,
and when you get outside of the densely populated areas, man, people are huge here.
They are.
Seriously
tiny
tall.
people.
We're like hobbits.
Yes.
I mean, seriously. Every time we get out of the car, I'm talking to some Texan. He's like twice my height, and I'm 5'9". It's not like I'm a midget, but still, nothing wrong with midgets. I'm just saying.
People are big here. I think they have to be because there's a lot of work out here.
Yeah, I guess.
There's a lot to do. You got to be strong and tough.
Well, so if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, I apologize that this is the first podcast you've listened to from us. But this really is Real Estate Coaching Radio, and this is really the nation's #1 listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals. And what we're doing is we're taking the next 2 months off, and we're driving all over the United States. And this is the best part. We're going to be going to all the towns, the hamlets, the cities, every place where we have coaching clients. We have people that are part of our EXP group. We're going to be, the best way to track us and know where we're going to be is just to follow us on Instagram, which is at Tim and Julie Harris, and we're putting up pictures there, and we're putting up videotapes. And yesterday there was a really big day, and Zoe's on Dramamine, so she might not be wanting to tell her own story. I mean, Julie, she's not even blinking. How much Dramamine did you give her?
Okay. Just probably double what she normally takes.
Zoe, do you feel like telling your story about your pierced ears? That's the big story. Okay.
Hello, I am Zoe, and I have pierced ears. I got them yesterday, and my rings are silver daisies.
The earrings are silver daisies.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Right. And Zoe, I want you to tell them because you are really, you're 7.5, and you have friends that are half your age that have their ears pierced, right? And you were afraid of doing it, but you talked yourself into it. So how did you talk yourself into getting your ears pierced?
Well, it all started when I was in the mall. The other mall before that mall I was with Mama. After I picked out the
Earrings.
I picked out those cute matching necklaces with hearts on them. I also found some matching earrings with hearts on them that were not clip-ons. They were the ones that you can wear when you're getting your ears pierced that Mama thought of. And then she asked me if we should ask them if they do ear piercing, and I agreed to ask, but they didn't. So then we talked Dad into going to another mall that has a Claire's to get my ears pierced, so we did. And then he let me, and then we went there, and I was a bit nervous, but it wasn't so bad.
And you cried a little bit, but you didn't cry for long, and then you got your ears pierced, and you're so proud of yourself, right?
Yes, and we also bought some earrings and some things, even a tiara. It's in my suitcase.
So that was a big day because she's not
You're so
wanted to get her
brave.
ears pierced because she's been afraid of it. Yesterday she did it. We posted all videos and whatnot. So those of you with little girls, you guys will understand. It was a big day in Zoe's world. It was
That's
quite
right.
nice.
It was interesting to see you go through the decision-making process, right? You said, I can't believe it. What? Well, okay, so you can say that. It's okay.
I'm so happy to be on this podcast.
But she talked herself into it. She had a few moments of being super pensive, thinking about what was going to happen, trying to do a little research, what was next, and then she finally you held your breath and did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good job.
So we're going to be doing little. Obviously, we're hoping to run across as many of you as possible on our journey. And I personally, and Julia and I personally, we really love these big, wide open plains parts of the country.
It's peaceful.
It's peaceful, but it's just something that's beyond just, it's like looking at the ocean. It's like when we were back home in Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
You look at the ocean. We're watching a family play with a really cool looking, you know what kind of dog that is, Zoe? He's called a blue tick healer. You really only see those guys in Texas. They're ranch dogs. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the open prairie areas, if you guys have never been to the great prairie areas of, Texas and Oklahoma, and now we're meandering into New Mexico, you really have got to do it. It's so much, I suppose it's visually boring in one way, but the other, not stimulating, that's for sure, but the other side of it is so peaceful and it's beautiful.
And people are super nice, too.
Yeah, and we were reading about all the, well, Julie, you were reading about all the, the Indian tribes. We kept on seeing, there was, how many Indian tribes do we not even know about?
I
like
know.
5 or 6.
Every time we're coming through a town, we did a little bit of research, and a lot of the towns are like, oh, well, that has to be an Indian name, so we looked that up. And so a lot of towns out here were, yes, Indians were here and influenced, but there were also so many towns that cropped up because of the railroads, which we still see. What did we saw? We saw an endless supply of oil tankers.
Yep.
On the railroad, and then I think you saw a bunch of cars being shipped. So they're still in use. All this traditional American expansion stuff is still in use, and I think it's valuable to see that.
So you mentioned, you sort of mentioned, car haulers. They're only probably about 20% full.
Yeah.
And we did, as Zoe mentioned, when we went to a couple malls, I was shocked by even these big, huge Dallas malls, how much lacking in inventory they were.
Yeah.
It was something I was not
That's real.
expecting to see. Yeah.
For sure.
And this is just ordinary stores that, I would never have expected to not have not just sizes, but just selection.
Sure. And that was pretty much across the board. Although there is one place that we were shocked and amazed to find that we'd never been to. If you live in Dallas, you've got to find this place. It's called what is it? Eataly. Eataly, I think. So that's like eating in Italy. Eataly.
Yep.
That was amazing. That was like Whole Foods meets actually Italy with a bunch of restaurants inside and a grocery store, and it was amazing.
Definitely our new favorite food
Place.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
was
if you're in
incredible.
Dallas, I don't know where else they are, but that's definitely worth a field trip.
So what inspired this trip? Well, what inspired this trip primarily is because COVID was over and we wanted to stretch our wings a little bit, obviously. But secondarily, we really did want to we wanted to reconnect with our country. We wanted to, and we've been in Puerto Rico now for basically 2 years, and we've missed a lot of the mainland. We've certainly missed a lot of you and seeing some of these towns. And I have to say, Julie, we had not so far. I don't think we've driven through anything that we've driven through before, ever. But
other than Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, other than Dallas.
Yep.
But we will be reconnecting with a lot of other parts of the country that
Yeah,
we have been to
that's
before. Maybe years and years ago. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to see how different they look versus how we remember them.
Mm-hmm.
But B, it'll also be interesting to see how our brains interpret what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because maybe we saw it last time when we got married 30 years ago when we were driving
Sure.
through in that little Miata, and maybe we're going to go through the same town or see the same things, but we're going to see them through a different set of eyes with new experiences. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely, and see what Zoe has to say about them.
Yeah, certainly with Zoe. So, Julie, how are we deciding so that our listeners understand that we really are doing this a little bit on the fly for 2
Well,
months?
That's interesting.
So there's only really a couple dates that we, affirm had set, right? There was the 6th when we landed in Dallas, and then we're going to be in Car Week in Monterey, the Monterey Peninsula, and that's going to be the 3rd week in August or
The
2nd week?
12th, let's see, I think the 8th to the 15th, roughly.
Okay, and so other than that, we really have no place to be and no time to be there.
That's right. So it's a little bit throwing caution to the wind, which for my more analytical tending self is maybe a little bit different for me. But it's interesting because it's easy to get stressed about, like, you've got to be at a certain hotel at a certain time. That's its own level of stress versus, well, we'll just see how it goes and see where we are and what we want to do, right? So we don't have a hotel set for tonight, but we're going to find something. I've been on TripAdvisor looking around. But yeah, I think there's a freedom of time is something that I know when I was in your guys' position and it was appointments here and appointments there and, going to closings and all these things, you get a little craving for the freedom of time. And I think that's something that we're, trying to maybe exacerbate a little bit here and feel that again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many days it takes for you and I to essentially
chill.
unplug from having
know.
such rigid schedules that we normally have, right?
I know,
I
and
mean,
you go from our rigid schedules, which are fairly rigid, to then you've got to show up for the airline 2 hours early, then even though they're going to be 2 hours late, and then you're going to go to another airport and get delayed there, and then hopefully check in on time on the hotel. So you go from a rigid work schedule to somebody else's schedule, and then freedom.
Well, you know what we're
It's
describing,
interesting.
right? What we're doing is the antithesis of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest
know.
level. And you and I have been doing what we don't want to do and we don't want to do at the highest level. Certainly, that's part of life, right? For so
Right.
long
I know.
to now do what you want to do when you want to do it at
Yes.
whatever level you want to do it at.
That's right.
Zoe's going to want to try to.
What is
Zoe,
it,
you have
sweetie?
something to say?
What? You can whisper.
Oh, she just wants to snuggle.
Oh, she's snuggling. It's
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay. So yeah, that's what's going to be interesting for me personally is to see how long it takes for me to actually chill.
Yeah, well, I think driving is helping you.
Yeah, well,
And,
I love driving.
Getting to know this car that we picked up in Dallas.
So let's talk about the car.
Yeah.
This car has definitely
You're a
been
car
a bit of-
guy?
yeah, this is for those of you who aren't car guys, you'll have to just bear with us. We're going to do a little car journal. So we bought a Audi RS6 Avant, and
So
Avant.
what's an Avant?
Okay, so an Avant is basically a German station wagon,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they call them convertibles, cabriolets, or
Saloons?
the Italian.
Don't they call them saloons or
the
salons?
Italians. The Italians will call them spiders, convertibles, right?
Yeah.
So this is an Audi RS6 Avant, which basically, what makes this special is this is it's an Audi wagon, right? Which they don't even sell in the United States.
Right.
But this one has got the same engine, transmission, and brakes. Zoe, be careful of that cable, okay?
Yep,
Do not
she's
pull
watching.
on this. As a Lamborghini, what kind of Lamborghini?
Yaris? No.
Yaris.
Is it a
No,
Yaris?
no. Yaris is a Toyota. What's
not a
Yaris?
Sorry.
Lamborghini Yaris.
That would be a very
Lamborghini.
expensive Toyota.
Yeah. So basically, this has got a huge motor, huge brakes, and it's really really fast. And this is something that is going to be fantastic for barreling across God's green earth. That is for sure.
Indeed.
Hey Zoe, stop fidgeting, okay?
Would you recommend this as a real estate car
Yeah, I would.
or something
And,
like it?
the question that people will ask is, why'd you buy a wagon over an SUV?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, first of all, this car is going to live in North Carolina
Yeah.
when we're not using it here.
Mm-hmm.
And why a car over or an SUV? It's for frankly, there's no way that you can make an SUV as comfortable or as agile as a car because the center of gravity is so much higher.
It's a little more tilty.
Right. I mean, if you think most SUVs are, aside from like Range Rovers and whatnot, or truck-based chassis things, is they're essentially just jacked up cars. That's all they really are. I mean, that's the reason, like on this thing, Julie, there's no like deep cubby holes, right? Like in the Range Rover, you can open this thing up and then there's a thing under it and there's
like
a
a
thing under it,
cave,
right? There's
another
a cave of storage. Whereas this right here underneath this is basically car, right?
It's a transmission, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Transmission tunnel. That's what this is right here. And because this car is all-wheel drive, it takes up. So the whole architecture of the interior space is completely different. But really, it's the reason that cars are always going to be the most efficient thing because they can, as far as aerodynamics, as far as actually efficiency and speed, and they don't race SUVs on racetracks for a reason.
Well, that's true.
Because the center of gravity would cause the thing to eventually just tip over. And I'm really looking forward. We're going to be going to. We're driving to Area 51. AKA what's the actual town called again? Roswell, right? And then we're going to go up to Colorado. And we're going to go to
Estes Park.
Estes Park, Colorado. We've been there before.
Maybe some parks in between. We were there a long time ago when we went from Ohio to Montana, and then went south from Montana to Estes Park and then home.
That's right. And so we're also going to be going to. Obviously spending some more time in Colorado, then we're going to drive up to Montana, and we're going to be going to also Mount Rushmore. We're going to take Zoe to Mount Rushmore, and I think we're going to also go show her Sitting Bull. I don't know, if you guys haven't seen any of this, you really have to, pile in a car and drive out west. Hey Zoe, that's enough Sprite. It's just going to be burping the next 2 hours, Julie.
That is as big as you are. Let's not do
she's lovely. She's taking advantage of the fact that Julie's not paying attention.
Okay, that
Zoe.
was not an invitation to be gross.
Few seconds comes a
No.
Very, very nice 7.5-year-old manners back there, lady. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be incorporating a lot of real estate talk as we get to know some of these more little towns more, and hopefully running into some of our coaching clients and podcast listeners and fans and book buyers and the whole thing.
Well, and the other interesting thing about being out here in the country, quite literally, is that when we go through some of these towns, I look and I see what is something that's decent go for in a town like this.
Oh yeah.
And, that's kind of interesting to get to know different markets, and I would say it's generally pretty low inventory.
We're talking about real estate.
But also realize, and again, shout out to our farm and ranch brokers and agents. There are other websites besides the MLS that you guys have stuff on. So I like to, when we go to some of these stops, I like to pick up housing magazines and look at, where else things are advertised and what you get for the money.
But you bring up a really good point. I mean, we had Realtor.com open as we're blazing through, these small towns and medium-sized towns. And it was shocking how there's nothing for sale, even in these places that are absolutely rural. This isn't semi-rural. This is full-on rural.
Well, this is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have little downtowns, so you might have a grid of like 12 cross streets and, regular sort of old subdivision-looking stuff. But still, there might be, 2 houses for sale. And I've seen some for sale by owner signs on some of these ranches. So that's always interesting.
I wonder if towns like this or parts of the country like this are starting to see some of the migration trends that we're seeing in other parts of the country. For example, from people moving to Murphy, North Carolina, and people moving to right. But I wonder if this is maybe just too isolated for people that would otherwise be working in Dallas. Maybe
probably because we're pretty far out here.
Yeah, we are pretty far out here. Well, so we're going to be going to Montana. We're going to be going to Red Lodge, Montana. That's definitely on the schedule.
Yep.
We're going to be going, because we've been to Red Lodge before. We actually knew the gal there, Ruth Brown, who started the Montana Wildlife Zoo.
Beartooth Nature Center. Which I think has become a Montana Zoo now. So that'll be interesting because last time we were there, she was developing all the different pens, and these are all sort of wayward animals that were rescued. So there's, you guys are used to talking about rescue dogs and cats. Well, there's also rescued bears and bobcats and all sorts of things. So should be quite interesting.
Well, we went to, last time we were there, Julie, if you remember correctly, we went spent time in Red Lodge because that's where Ruth and Rob lived. And then we went to the other side of the mountain range, and they took us out to dinner at a place that was doing, and you guys, we talked about this in the podcast before. People thought we were making it up, by the way, that they did actual pig racing.
Yes.
So there was
race pigs.
There was this restaurant, and then behind it, Zoe, a pig race. We're gonna go there.
I never heard of that, and I never knew of that. I'm looking at my Kinder Joy.
Well, if you make less noise, Zoe, then what Mama and Dad will do is they'll take you to a pig race. How about that? Deal? Okay, so that we had never been there before, and of course, people bet on pig racing. So we walked in, and Robin Ruth had us, place down, $5 down on this pig race. I think there was 5 or 6 pigs racing.
Yeah.
And you guys are thinking we're making this up. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. This is what you do in Montana.
I think that was in Nye, Montana, NYE.
We'll find out because
Yeah.
we're going to go there. Yeah, we're going to become full-time pig racing gamblers.
I know.
So we put down $5 or whatever, and guess what? We won. Julie and I
Of
won.
course,
We
right?
won our inaugural pig race, but we were celebrating and whatnot. We wanted to go out there and take a picture with our winning pig, and I think we won like $25 or something.
I'm gonna be on Mama team.
You could be on Mama's team, and we ended up. I'm sure we gave the money to Ruth for her
Her
zoo,
zoo.
or we intended to, and then she said, "Well, this is where we get a lot of our food for the big cats," because she had mountain lions and bobcats and whatever. And we said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You guys don't know? Well, pigs aren't designed to race, and it turns out if you make pigs race maybe 2 or 3 times that they die."
They have heart attacks.
Yeah, and so as a result, the pigs that basically the winning pigs.
Didn't win so much.
They didn't win so much, right? They get fed to Ruth's animals at the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, rescue baby mountain lions, for example, are not out there hunting on their own. They've
No.
got to eat something.
Exactly. So that's an example of where being first is quite literally being last.
Yes. Strange things you learn out in the wild.
Right. I mean, so
And another little piece of trivia, Nye, Montana, I have to look it up to see if this is still true or not, was at least for a while owned by Jack Hanna, who
Yep.
ran the Columbus Zoo.
oh, so now I do remember. No, Nye was not where the pig racing was. Jack Hanna's town was
Maybe
like
next
if you
door to
was
that.
next door, was to the right
was
in
the name of
essence,
that? It was
and
a
then
mining town.
yeah, we'll find it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we're looking forward to all these experiences. You want to tell the story about being the slowest kid on the track, since we're here talking about funny stories from Montana?
Yeah, well, in Red Lodge, Montana, which is a great place for you guys to look up. A nice little road trip. You can take I-90 out from even Chicago, or you can go east, of course, from the northwest. But Red Lodge is a great little town. It's the gateway to the Beartooth Mountains. And the kind of joke in Red Lodge is, their high school is sunken down underneath this ridge, right?
Yep. There's
And
ridges. There's ridges on 3 sides.
all the way around,
Yeah.
because it's gateway to some big mountains. And so the track outside that the kids run on is in this little valley, and for a while kids were noticing a mountain lion up there watching them run.
A big male mountain lion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys, again, if you've never seen these things, how they actually
Huge.
are.
And
at,
scary.
At Ruth's Zoo, these things are monsters. I mean, they're not like fat house cats. They're like small buses. Zoe,
Yes, of course.
what
She wants to know, keep the mountain lions safe or keep the kids safe?
The kids.
well, we're telling a story about that, so
Did you
Yeah.
protect them?
just listen. Let's tell our story. You'll like the story, okay? All right. So they're racing. Since Zoe's getting bored, so they're racing. Obviously they race on this track, and then they noticed during practice every day, towards the end of the day, they'd noticed that this big male mountain lion was situating himself on top of the ridge, and I think a lot of you guys understand where this story goes. And mountain lions naturally are going to want to be attracted to prey. Fast-moving prey stimulates them, but the prey that they're going to go after is going to be the slowest of the herd. And so the joke is, in Montana, they had the fastest track team. Basically, this male mountain lion was obviously planning on attacking
The slowest kid.
the slowest kid. Now, you guys, again, we're not making this up. This is how seriously they took this. I remember she tells us this story, doesn't even crack a smile. Where Julie and I are practically peeing our pants. We couldn't even believe it
I know.
because we thought she was pulling our leg.
Right.
We're just a couple, kids from Ohio at that point.
Exactly.
And then she said that the hunters would set up all kinds of like encampments and traps and do all kinds of things. And they even hired professional big game hunters, of which, of course, you can imagine there's a lot in Montana. And they never got the thing.
No.
They never got him.
Thus, the winning track team all the time. Don't want to be that slowest kid.
What was the name of their high school
can't
mascot? I
remember.
wonder if it was the Cougars or something.
Something
I bet
like
it
that.
was.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to be driving through Montana, then we're going to be going towards the West Coast, and we're going to hope to see Glenn Sanford at his house in
Vancouver?
it's somewhere up
Somewhere
there.
up there.
It's way up there. It's basically, I guess you can essentially straddle the United States and Canada
Mm-hmm.
as how far it is up there. And then we're going to drive back through. We're going to see my sister hopefully in Oregon. Then there's a really great driving road that several of you guys have told us about, that learned that I was a car nerd, that we're going to be taking, which I know Julie and Zoe are really looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see how it goes.
And then we're going to be driving down the coast, US 1. We're going to be staying for a week during car week. If any of you guys are car people, oh my gosh, it's Mecca for all things automotive hobby related, and mostly European stuff.
All sorts of things, auctions and shows and rallies, and
It's extraordinary.
it is. And you know, at us, we always call it Monterey because it's known as Monterey Car Week, Monterey Peninsula. But we're staying in Carmel by the Sea, which is one of our all-time favorite places, and a fascinating real estate market also.
Which we'll be talking a lot
I will
about.
send lots of pictures from there.
Just to, if you guys aren't familiar with Carmel by the Sea, Clint Eastwood used to be the mayor. Yeah,
I believe so.
and they don't have, get this guys, they don't have actual street addresses in Carmel by the Sea. So explain that, Julie.
Yeah, well, first of all, it makes things really hard to find, but all of the houses have names. So I know that one of them is called the Gingerbread House. There's
And there's a lot of them too. This isn't like 10 houses.
this is
like,
hundreds. It's
Yeah.
literally like
Gingerbread house?
yeah,
Yep.
and you have to actually apply for your name with the city to make sure it's not taken already and that you're on one of the official streets that are named this way.
Right.
But there's also coordinates, so it might be 15th northwest of 6th. So you got to figure that out, right? And really, you kind of get the lay of the land just by going on lots of walks, which we like to do. But it's just amazing. And all the homes are just like, it really is like being in something from The Hobbit or a fairy village. Or there's no other, I guess there's maybe, I believe, I was reading about Carmel. I think there's a place in Norway that looks like it.
Huh.
The guy that did the photography for the Carmel Cottages book that we have, he took pictures there as well. But it's just fascinating.
So we're going to be broadcasting
Hard to
live out there.
explain.
It's definitely one of our favorite places we've ever been.
It's awesome.
And then, of course, there's all the other car things and related things that are going on that week.
Mm-hmm.
And then Big Sur, again, just a little bit south of Carmel by the Sea. If you go to
Point Lobos is
Point
great.
Lobos National Park, which we took Zoe there, but she doesn't remember. She was 3. So I'll give you guys a little advanced travel tip, and we learned this from obviously locals. When you're there, it's a national park, and it is unbelievably beautiful. Point Lobos has got to be, and Julie and I have been fortunate enough to travel to a lot of different places in the world, but Point Lobos is without a doubt one of the top, I don't know, man, 3 places,
Definitely.
most beautiful places we've ever
It
been.
doesn't look like any other place we've ever been.
But here's your advanced travel tip. When you go in there, I think there's 4 parking lots, right? You pass 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go to the very, very, very last one. And the very last one, the walking trails make you, essentially you walk over, I won't even ruin it for you. Just go there, go to Point Lobos Park, and I think it's parking lot number 3 or 4. And you know you're there when you start hearing the sea lions, because you can hear the sea lions as soon as you get out of your car. Everything changes back there. There's always a marine haze, even in the summer, because it
Fog.
doesn't really get that
Yeah.
warm. And it's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we might. Do you think we can stay at not Post Ranch? What's the place across the street?
Ventanas.
Ventanas?
Maybe. I bet you they're super booked, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll try to.
Maybe we'll luck out with the cancellation.
What's
It-
that place?
It's an.
It's amazing. You've actually been very close to. I think we had lunch there once when you were 4.
No, can I open it?
Not yet, sweetie.
Well, this is about all we're gonna get out of Zoe being patient. So we're gonna get back.
Kinder Joy, Kinder Joy. I
Oh,
don't know if
boy.
they have the. Well, they do obviously have it in the States.
She bought me another one also.
This
Hey,
is
Zoe.
a chocolate egg with a toy in it.
Oh, that sounds like a brilliant idea in the back
I'll
of a
lay
car
out a tarp. Don't worry.
For
I
a-
want to open it.
It's
for a kid that's prone to car sickness.
Yeah. That's why you're not opening it yet.
It's almost time for another Dramamine.
Yep.
We call them. What do we call them? Safety pills.
Safety pills.
Well, so bear with us for the next couple months. We will be sprinkling in real estate, but this is going to be real
Yep.
estate meets travel log.
And if you have any suggestions for us, that
Yeah.
would be great because, we're out here. We can turn left or right or north or south, whatever we need to do to see some interesting things.
Absolutely, and we intend to. So what overall, after we're done with California, then we're going to drive back. What states? Where other?
We'll have to plot our route out, but hopefully to Ohio and then eventually park this thing in North Carolina, but we'll see people along the road.
Yep. So I think we're going to do. If I looked at the map right, I think we might do as many, maybe 5,000 miles.
I think we're going to hit 20 states.
Yeah, 20 states. Isn't that incredible to think about that?
I know. Think
The-
she's going to win on show and tell.
Yeah, she will. So Zoe, what did you do this summer? I went everywhere.
I went to see aliens.
Okay. All right, sit down. You say what you should have done. This is mental note for In the Car podcasting
Yeah.
tomorrow. You should have held that out
Well, I tried to, but
in exchange for her being quiet during the podcast. You got to get your bribe game on, Mama.
Yeah. She gave me a look.
I
She
know.
knows what that means.
Well, so if you have any suggestions and whatnot, and do follow us on Tim and Julie Harris at Tim and Julie Harris on Instagram, because we are going to be posting lots and lots of pictures. A lot of just little silly. We're calling them Julie's backseat vlogging.
Vignettes.
Vignettes. Her and Zoe, they're going to be sticking the camera out the window, and they're going to be doing little videotaping and whatnot. But enjoy this trip with us, and again, participate if you have any suggested ideas for us, any places we should stop or see. And we're going to be telling you where we're going to be, roughly when we're going to be there. And if you can swing over and we can, go on a walk together, have a cup of coffee, that'd be fantastic. We're going to keep this as informal as we can and have as much fun as we can. I think everyone needs a little bit of break after COVID, and we certainly feel blessed to be able to share this experience with all of you. In the meantime, if you guys have any ideas, you can always text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. Do not call, just text, and we'll talk with you on the road tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.